Just a quick thank you to Claudine and the entire team of the Institut Français du Royaume-Uni for your incredible hospitality. We've used literally every room in this building for the last week, and we feel so much at home that you might never get rid of us again. And thank you so much to Sarah Frappier and the whole team with her. I have to admit, this is the first time that I don't really know how to start or what to say, though I did print it out. But not knowing how to start or what to say is maybe a really good position to be in relation to both plants and sex. Oh yeah, sorry, we're already talking about sex. My name is Lucia. I should probably do that first. My name is Lucia and I'm curator of general ecology at the Serpentine Galleries. And together with writer and editor Filipa Ramos and assistant curator of live programs Kostas Stasinopoulos, somewhere here, we are the co-curators of tonight's evening. Together with an incredible production team of Holly Shuttleworth and Kamala Carey. So, PLANTSEX. I keep saying one word, all caps, because if you have to say it loud. I thought that would be quite a nice way of getting rid of at least, the ice. So, PLANTSEX. Come on. PLANTSEX! So, this evening is taking... it might have broken the ice, but it didn't get rid of the nerves. This evening is taking place as part of the Serpentine's General Ecology project, a project the aim of which is to address a quite expansive, hence the word general, notion of ecology, complexity, post-humanism, more than humanism, and climate change and the environment through programs, radio, publication, residencies, study programs, and so on and so on. The idea is also to embed those very principles into the way we work, because we believe metaphors are real, so we're aiming to do ecology all the way down, following the principles of collaboration and symbiosis in the methods with which we work as well. So thinking about ecology and through ecology. Now, as part of the ecology project with Filipa, we started a symposium series on consciousness across species divides, which is called The Shape of a Circle in the Mind of a Fish. You may be familiar with it. If you're not, come to the next one, which will be on the 19th of May, and it's called The Shape of a Circle in the Mind of a Fish with Plants. We love our titles. So we decided to dedicate this season of General Ecology, the program, to plants, particularly at the beginning because of the exhibitions we have on at the moment at the Serpentine Galleries. Emma Kunz, whose incredible and visionary work as a healer and a mystic linked her inextricably to the plants in her garden. And if you've seen the webpage of this event, you will have seen some beautiful polarized marigolds that she grew in her garden. As well as the exhibition of Hito Power Plants, which has some admittedly incredibly sexy AI-generated predictions for future plants in there as well. So if you haven't seen that show, which opened yesterday, please do visit it this weekend. So plants were supposed to be our focus for the spring, and we didn't really have a plan for them to take over our lives, and now it has become, plants in general, the vegetable world has become our focus forever, I think. The subject did grow out of the Shape of a Circle framework, but it kind of grew into this and ballooned into this, which itself may in fact continue its life as a series. We don't know yet. Of course, I sort of have to say that some of the reasons why this particular world out there has become so important to us has to do with all these connections that go all the way back, of which I'll tell you a little bit. But a little word of sort of pessimism, because things are pretty bad. So Anna Tsing speaks of feral proliferations being the unintended consequences of human infrastructure, human projects, and human actions on the environment, which then cause these unintended consequences and then need to be addressed with more infrastructure, which itself generates more unintended consequences. In that context, I was reminded of the 1971 children's story, Lorax. I don't know if you've come across it. It's brand new in our house, by Dr. Seuss. It's a story of greed and the destruction of the environment. I wanted to find the exact quote, but my son was asleep on the book. So there's an absent character at the beginning, Lorax, who when they appear, they speak for trees because they say they have no tongues. And after all this research and all this time preparing this event, thinking yesterday, they do, they have tongues of sorts. They have tongues that tickle and that speak, and that we cannot hear and that we do not listen to. But it's not that we haven't tried, because as far back as you look, sex and plants have been bound up with one another, from the profound interconnections of fertility, agriculture, and divination to the coevolution of things like wheat and humans. There's something about grains not falling off so that we can pick them up and make bread with them, but at the same time, if the seeds don't fall off, they can't reproduce. So all of a sudden, we're entangled with one another as species. 2, the use of contraceptives, abortifacients, aphrodisiacs since the beginning of time, really, and hormone hacking and healing and sexual aids, and I mean, look at their shape sometimes. 2, 16th century botanical writing that sounds a lot like pornography, and 17th century pornographic writing that sounds a lot like botany. Anyway, long story short, plants do know our dirty secrets, and some of them are really, really filthy. And when I was saying this, it was kind of meant as a joke, and then I thought, oh, benzene and formaldehyde and all the rest and all this other dirty secrets. But as we worked, we found in them the emotion, the love, the anger, the profound sensuality, the recognition of something that links us impossibly deep and impossibly ancient. So we've been asking ourselves, what do plants teach us about sex? In a conversation a few weeks ago, Emanuela just said, well, if you want to have sex with a plant, just drink a glass of wine, which I thought was an incredibly great answer to that question. You know, a few others of our participants have kind of, in one way or another, answered the question. Alex Ciacchetti always says, don't add too much water, so that could be a good teaching. Or Jena, it's everywhere in the connective tissue between things. But what does sex teach us about plants? I tried to answer that question for myself, and the first answer that came to mind is, you can be doing everything right, and it still doesn't happen sometimes. We're also presenting Mal tonight, and it's Filipa that's going to tell you a little bit more about that, but I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank all of the participants who are here with us today, all of the contributors to the journal. We've been privileged to have been gifted their time, their participations, their contributions. I also wanted to say there are 4 historical texts in Mal, the journal that we're presenting, that Filipa will tell you about more, and that those historical excerpts are just a sort of tip of what we found when we were digging under the soil, in this soil of sort of how far back do we and plants and sex link, and quite far back, as it turns out. Another thank you to the French Institute, to Fluxus Art Projects for supporting us. Thank you to Mal for their collaboration. Thank you to Field who support Mal. Thank you to Filipa, to Costas, to Holly, to Kamal, to Loic up there. To all the participants, again, your work is our guidance. I'm going to say something super boring now, but you will have found some feedback forms on your seats. They are important for the purposes of our reporting. So if you do find it within you during perhaps the break or perhaps at the end to fill them out, it does look long, but it doesn't take a very long time. Anyways, Filipa.
Thank you, Lucia. I'm going to be very brief and then lead the word to Maria Dimitrova, who is continuing and reflecting more specifically about this incredible issue of Mal that has just been published and that is available outside. Coincidences don't exist. A bed sheet and a paper sheet share more than the same word. They are made of the same matter. Before becoming sheets, they were plants. But in fact, they are still plants. And it's our human perception that renders them into something else. Culture is what we fail to perceive as nature. Invisibility, as the invisible presence of plants in the tissues of cloth and of paper, will be a constant topic throughout this evening, as to talk about plants and to talk about desire is to talk about intelligence and what is sensed more than seen. The fabric of human knowledge and dreams is actually weaved in vegetable fibers. Plants that were turned into sheets, that were turned into pages, that were turned into magazines, that were turned into books. Plants hold our memories, our thoughts, our ideas. They archive our impressions and equations. They are more stable and more reliable than any digital support. Sheets are petals and leaves whose haptic and odorous relation to our body, to our hands, to our noses, to our eyes, produce the embodiment of what they hold. Books are flowers that blossom when we open them and when we flip through them. And like flowers, books are not reproductive organs. Read Emanuele Koch's text to learn more about this. They are entities of sensual and libidinal drive. After all, the most active sexual stimulant we have is our brain. And these plants turn sheets, turn pages, turn books, transfer all their instinctual energy to them through the gesture of reading. Reading as a process of the triumphant eruption of the plant in us. This publication is not about PLANTSEX. It is, therefore, PLANTSEX. It also drove an institution to fill an unexpected, surprising desire and passion for plants, which will be pursued in different configurations by the General Ecology in the months to follow. And finally, the Serpentine will assume its Serpentine configuration. The institution is about to become a forest, and thank you for joining us in this journey. Maria.